Five. Yeah. All right, sick. Oh boy. Rubbing my hands together, wringing my hands. This is going to be good. Probably. Probably. Let's go back to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team. And I will load the save state that I had from last time. I clipped my mic. Hopefully you didn't hear that, but it's entirely possible that it made a really loud, unpleasant noise, so I just gotta kind of hold that. You know. What? No Pelipper? Oh, I guess he already came by. Okay. I think I had everything ready. I just need to fucking go on an adventure. To address the elephant in the room. Hello, Gotron. Welcome back. Or rather, the room itself. I moved house. It's funny how the New York mayor's race is like, I have facts while my opponent is just racist. That's true. It's like, who do you want? Fucking hydrogen bombs or on Mamdani? Fast and free buses, rent freeze for rent stabilized units, affordable housing construction, free childcare, ending the gifted program for fucking toddlers, or coughing baby, Andrew Cuomo AI ad campaign about how Muslims are scary or something. Choose your fighter. Hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby ass campaign. Except the coughing baby is receiving like billions of dollars. Or not billions, but probably in the tens of millions, hundreds of millions maybe, from donors. Which is like doing all of jack shit to help him because he doesn't actually want to be there. And then Curtis Lee was just kind of hanging out, talk about how much he loves New York. Cuomo's the worst. I would vote for Sliwa 100 times before him. Oh, 100%. I would too. Look, if by some grace of the devil himself, Cuomo won the primary or something like that, you know, God forbid we live in that timeline, right? But if we did, then yeah, Sliwa would be the actual like correct choice. Every day passes, I get more anti-AI art. So fucking true. Hey, good news, by the way, for all the professional AI haters, such as myself and, well, the good people in chat. AI adoption is actually slowing, like, a lot. You know how every company was super eager to just put AI in all of their stuff, all of their products and services and whatever, where it, like, was not needed and does nothing good for anybody? That's because it like doesn't actually have any utility. Generative AI just sucks at everything. It is only capable of providing an ersatz of the function that people want it to serve because it's created from a smorgasbord of scrambled and unscrambled data of the thing that you already want to do, right? In order for AI to produce an imitation of a finished product, you have to give it an actual version of that finished product for it to then say, is this kind of like what you gave me? And the answer will probably be yes, but you have to give it the better thing for it to produce the worst version of that same thing, right? If you were, let's say you're a company who's like on the AI craze, right? You're a company that's on the AI craze. You need some graphic design stuff, right? And you have some graphic design artists and whatever. But what you could also do is try to use AI to synthesize, the a graphic design for you, right? You would have to have a design template ready-made for your purposes already to feed to the AI for it to give you a worse version of that same template, right? It consumes more, like, obviously not time. AI will, in a few seconds, give you a shitty version of whatever you put into it. But the thing is, you have to already have the thing that you're putting into it to get the thing that you want out of it, right? Like, if I was looking on Google for a question that I didn't know the answer to, and I were to go to Wikipedia and look for academic sources, whatever, I didn't already have that information. But in order for an AI to function, somebody had to already put the answer in it to get the answer back out of it. And there's a decent chance that it messes up. You guys get what I'm saying? Like, oh, poster with the guy standing arms crossed and smiling at the camera, right? Like, looking real professional. Come to our convention, So you need that for graphic design. You have to already have one of those in order for an AI to give you that, right? Like, nothing is accomplished there. Yeah, at best, it's inspiration, and that is being, I think, unduly charitable. And no, Astroflick, it's actually not because it's infiltrated so many areas. What I'm talking about, the adoption, is the rate at which it's infiltrating different industries is slowing down because those industries that are picking it up are realizing this isn't really useful for anything, right? There's a really good graph that illustrates this here. Hold on, AI bubble graph. Yeah, from Unusual Whales. This is a very simplified version per Bloomberg, apparently. This is why AI adoption is slowing down. The entire reason that AI was being adopted by so many companies in the first place is because they were all companies like related to these companies. And everybody is subsidizing everybody else's production, integration, and whatever of AI. NVIDIA produces the chips. They're paying money. They're investing in a bunch of these companies to subsidize the purchase of NVIDIA chips. This is all like a speculative growth bubble, right? They're not using it for quality. They're just using it to not pay minimum wage. Yeah. And even then, AI is actually not a profitable investment vehicle, right? Like OpenAI. OpenAI is worth 500 billion, right? This is stock market evaluation. Check this $500 billion number, right? OpenAI only made something like $10 to $12 billion of revenue. Yeah, they're so desperate not to pay people, they won't even act rationally in economics in a way that would enable you to not pay people, Seriously, like this is why AI is slowing down and stuff, because like initially it was a novelty, and the Nazis found some use in like worshiping it as a god. But now it's pretty clear all we've gotten out of AI is a new form of psychosis and cultish thinking. It's just nothing. Like, look, I've never even heard of Figure and Mistral, but like, you see, there's a green arrow going from NVIDIA to Mistral. That's venture capital, and then there is a purple arrow going from Mistral to NVIDIA. NVIDIA provides venture capital investment to Mistral, and Mistral provides hardware and software spending to NVIDIA. NVIDIA literally says, we will invest in your AI platform, and then this purple arrow is them buying NVIDIA chips. This is a completely like economically incestuous cycle of spending money, which leads to NVIDIA having a $4.5 trillion market evaluation without providing substantial benefit to the world. I guarantee you that the new advances in chips that they are making have not provided very much benefit to anybody. When is this bubble bursting? People are speculating it's beginning to pop right now. That's why the AI adoption really slowing down is significant, because that's a sign of people no longer viewing it as a profitable investment. And now that we've reached the stage that people are like, well, this isn't necessarily a profitable investment, it's only a matter of time, probably weeks or months, until investors start saying, not only is this not profitable, we actually have to divest, right? And so when people start divesting, that creates a very quick cascading effect. Yeah, it'll happen pretty. The heel turn is going to happen pretty suddenly. It might have even started happening already. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, that's sort of what's going on with AI. So AI haters eating good. Our arguments proven correct. AI is literally worthless. Really great stuff, honestly. Apparently, this is something like 10 times as large as the dot-com bubble. It's really big bubble. Anyway, we're going to Silent Chasm. And I'm going to try to be extra careful to make sure Longshore can not get KO'd this time. Because that was very unfortunate. Let me pull this list up. There we go. Great. Meanwhile, the real infrastructure is like actually crumbling too. I didn't get to really talk about this. It was happening the last time I was streaming. Apparently, Amazon Web Services had a major outage of service. I didn't know this until the outage actually happened, but Amazon provides a lot of web services like internet hosting and servers and whatever else. And for a little while, their servers went down. Like, I think it was even because of some AI that they were using that was like running everything. And because AI is fucking useless, the whole system just kind of had an outage. And it took them several days to get it back up, in which time, like, a lot of people, their home lives and businesses were, like, really negatively impacted. Even JSTOR was down? Holy shit. You know how heavily I relied on JSTOR in college? Jesus. Okay, yeah. And apparently that outage happened because Amazon fired a bunch of, they had fired a bunch of, like, actual software engineers and web developers and whatever, you know, whoever else is responsible for maintaining that kind of infrastructure. And they had tried to offload that work all to AI and try to be like, let's just have AI do it, and so we don't have to pay people to do it. Little did they know that you can't actually, like, do things if there's not people to do those things, right? Like, the Mechanical Turk doesn't work if there's not somebody operating the Mechanical Turk. And at that point, just get somebody that knows how to play chess. Yeah, it makes companies look really stupid and really silly when they try to do shit like that, because it'll inevitably backfire, you know? Was it 5 and 8? Okay. Thankfully, I didn't get affected by the Amazon Web Services outage because at home, I don't think I rely on Amazon Web Service. I actually might now since I moved into a new apartment. But at my old house, I know for sure that I didn't rely on Amazon Web Services because the internet was still working fine for me. But even then, I think there were some websites that were, like, really choking on themselves more than they would usually. So I was like, oh shit, this really, like, this is really a fucking thing, huh? What's up, Weedle? Money. Companies make it sound like they get punched in the face every time they pay someone. It's honestly crazy how much companies fucking whine about labor, you know, having to pay workers, laborers, and like whatever else, because, like, that is such a tiny fucking drop in the bucket compared to the kind of money they make investing. on the one hand, like that makes it make sense why they just don't want to pay anybody, because like why would you invest in labor if you could make so much more money just like doing speculative investment and stuff? That I understand, and it's one of the reasons that we should all fucking hate capitalism, because it incentivizes that. Thank you. This is in fact a socialist live stream. But then also, by that same token, paying for labor should be like nothing to you. It should like barely factor in. You should be like, what? Oh yeah, I don't fucking care. Pay them $30 an hour, whatever, right? Because you're making so much goddamn money from stock buybacks and like everything, you know, all the stock market valuations and whatever conference that you have like a keynote speaker and they just say, this is the future of the blah blah blah. Everyone will be purchasing doo-doo. Our economy will be powered by doo-doo. You know, like you're making so much money from that. Why do you need to stiff the like your workers and employees so hard, right? Like you literally don't need to do that. You know? And better yet, paying your employees, okay, thinking like a fucking economist or whatever, right? Like paying your workers could even contribute to factors that like that help your company do well in the speculative market. If your company has a reputation for good customer service and good working conditions, and your brand is like respected for that, think of how much people are going to praise you for being like a stable company and like a paragon of capitalist virtue or whatever, right? Like yeah. Like even accounting for the fake economy, you can still do that, but like ultimately it's just going to come back to the fake economy either way. Like for shit's sake, make some toasters or something. Make something that's actually useful to somebody, right? And like, yeah, I'm just gonna turn to the Vaughtism speaks here, you know? Like, at what point does that money become a burrito in my hands that I can eat for lunch? Yummy. Right? Like, all this speculation is, you know, we call it the speculative investment cycle because it is its own thing, distinct from real economics, right? Like the economy of gambling functions on the logic of gambling rather than on the logic of the production and distribution of real goods and services that people need, you know? And the profit margins for those goods and services are like not that big. Think the money dies when it leaves our pockets? It's something like that. You almost can't even attribute it to the individual failing of people like that either, because like you're just rewarded with more money for not spending money, for like hoarding it. It's like if you have a lot of money, you can go to the bank and be like, look how much money I have. That means I'm a great person to lend money to, right? And they'll just give you more money. Like, why would you spend money and provide something valuable to society when you could just point to how much money you have and the banks will proceed to give you infinite money? Right? I'm blaming the individual themselves, mind you. Yeah, I get it. But like, shit, man. Nice. Okay, so execute is the request that is waiting on the 8th floor. Let me swap this with the... I don't know, maybe that. Sure. It's like they're trying to make you have a dragon horde. Yeah, and everybody's incentivized to play this game. Even me, even like rando people earning $30,000 a year are also like experience the incentives to do that. It just doesn't work on people making 30 grand a year because they don't have any money with which to engage in that cycle, you know? This is a deleterious effect of capitalism that will only directly influence the decision making of people who have enough money to get got by it, and will indirectly, but still just as like importantly, influence the living conditions of billions, primarily in a negative way. Yeah, and they're like, it's your fault if you can't. Like, no, actually, it's it is your fault if you break the whole ass economy because you wanted to gamble with usually somebody else's money. That's the whole reason the FDIC exists. Like when you put money in a bank and it says FDIC insured, that means that if the bank spends all your money, you're guaranteed the government can go break the bank's kneecaps and give you your money back. Up to 250 grand. That doesn't even stop the bank from spending your money, mind you. That's just like the way that they're like, look, you even if the bank spends all your money, we're like either they're good for it or we'll make them good for it, you know? Some crazy shit. Adam Smith would be fucking tweaking for this shit. Like the way that Adam Smith describes growth in a market system, it's like he talks about real improvements and things that you would physically, tangibly be able to see and measure as like improvements to the land, right? The philosophy that underlies the bedrock of capitalism as a system, like a market-based system with money, is so temporally far removed from the economic conditions that would develop as a result of it. You know? It's just so fucking weird. It gets weirder by the day. You know? It really is kind of like, I keep going back to Why We're Getting Poorer by Unlearning Economics, Cal Moran, British economist, the only good Brit bonger, thank you. Aside from Cryoraptor, real ones no. Where he says that like because of all these, you know, there's all these flaws in the global shipping system, in the retail like supply chain, in all these different sectors in the economy, and what he calls it is basically these indicators basically amount to an economic system which is not fit for purpose. It's almost like capitalism just kind of doesn't serve a purpose anymore, right? Like, oh, cool, number go up. But like, what does that actually mean? What does that actually do? You know? There's like so many derivative layers of justifying why numbers should go up that you have to go down like 3 or 4 different dialogue trees until you get to the point that number going up has some kind of positive effect on the quality of life of average people, right? Like it to such an extent that people almost object to the concept of an economic system being designed to systemically address people's baseline needs, right? It's like there's a fundamental, like as time goes on, as the contradictions of capitalism sharpen and like the market system sharpen, you know, whether it's AI adoption, whether it's, you know, other forms of speculative investment, like whatever else, it's like there's a more and more of a disengagement from the social contract, you know? I will not leave the dungeon. Continue. Oh, nice. Me a max elixir. That's what I need. This Poliwag is blocking the way. That's pretty funny. Nice. How long till Longshore levels up? Only 36 experience. Very cool. Another aspect of this I actually wanted to highlight, the irrationality of like the current economic system as manifested in billionaires. Thank you. It always seems like it's the fucking billionaires that are acting just so irrationally all the time. I saw that Zoran Mamdani went on the Andrew Schultz podcast. Andrew Schultz, absolutely shameless, you know, grifter, piece of shit, right? Like, opinions change as the political winds do. So he just like supports whoever's best for him getting the bag, right? Like there's a whole world of podcast people who are like that, whose political opinions are mostly defined by how they can most effectively like grease the wheels of the content machine, you know? Which, I mean, that's the modern economy for you, right? And they're, funnily enough, they're providing more value to the world than your average billionaire, even if it is like bottom of the barrel kind of entertainment. Like, entertainment is a real thing. They were talking with Zoran Mamdani on their podcast, and you know, they were kind of chopping it up, right? Like they were friendly. Zoran Mamdani, really charismatic dude. He's incredible at what he does, which is politics. And campaigning and activism. Okay, I'm sorry, Rattata. Got distracted once and Rattata got fucking one-shotted. But they were talking about the wealth tax, subject of Zoran Mamdani's campaign as of late. Okay, it was the final floor, so it was more or less okay. And I think Zoran Mamdani wanted to do a 2% tax on wealth and or income above $1 million, which, if you're not familiar with taxes, that means that that tax is not applied at all, up to and including $1,000,000. But as soon as you get $1,000,001, that extra cent and everything beyond that would be taxed at 2%, additionally on top of whatever other taxes you're paying. So you earn $1 million a year, you don't pay the wealth tax at all. You earn $2 million a year, you pay $2 million of one, or you pay 2% of $1 million, because that's the $1 million you have above $1 million, right? Like the tax bracket measures your income and wealth in chunks for purposes of taxing it. So if you earn $2 million, a 2% wealth tax would have you paying $20,000 a year. 10,000 is 1% of $1 million, right? 10,000 is 100,000. Yeah, $1 million. So a 2% wealth tax, wealth or income tax, whichever it is, on wealth or income above $1 million would have somebody who makes $2 million a year paying $20,000 a year for that wealth tax. If you have $111 million, or let's say you have $101 million, right? $1 million of that goes completely untouched by the wealth tax. The next $100 million gets taxed at 2%, so you pay $2 million. You still have almost $100 million left. And what he was talking about that really resonated with me, that almost didn't even fucking occur to me. Billionaires have spent more money lobbying and campaigning against Zoran Mamdani than he would be asking them to pay in taxes. They have spent tens of millions, hundreds of millions on ads against Mamdani, on Cuomo's campaign, on like the Eric Adams administration, on influencing various politicians in New York, on like courting the federal government. They have so far outspent any taxes that the city government or even like multiple levels of government would ever ask them to pay. It is actually insane. No, save the adventure. Dang it. Here we go. And I was like, holy shit. I like it's kind of crazy. That didn't even occur to me that it's like, yeah, I'm asking for a 2% tax, and then they proceed to spend like way the fuck more than that on saying, no, we don't want to be taxed at 2% on all this extra money we have because we like having that money. That's literally it. They're like, we like having that money, so we don't want to pay this tax. However, we will pay vastly more than this tax would ever fucking ask of us just to make sure that this tax doesn't exist, right? And with the 2% tax on income and wealth above $1 million, that would actually contribute to incredible things in New York City, in the state, in the country, whatever. Like, you could do so much if you know how to make local government more efficient, if you know how to like in-house certain things, or, you know, not pay consultants and contractors to sit on their ass for 6 months doing nothing. You could like, even just a few $100,000 per year goes a really long way. Yeah, it is not difficult to convince the average voter to be against rich people, even on the Republican side. And when you put it like that, it's like, you like, shit, say less. You know? I think it encapsulates so well just how billionaires and the wealthy steal from society, right? Because it's like, hey, what we ask is a contribution to society of this much. And then they'll spend this much willingly to avoid contributing this much to the betterment of society. Yeah, it's like there's a reason that it's such an uphill battle in the news media to keep manufacturing that consent to like worship the wealthy. It is actually like, despite political polarization, despite the rising tide of the far right in every major country in the world, it seems like the not quite class consciousness, but like an acknowledgement that, wow, rich people are kind of parasites on society. Maybe not in such a coherent way that you could call it awareness of class. That sentiment is at an all-time high, right? It's like, it is fertile ground, just waiting for some politician to go in and plant the seed of like, hey, why don't we do something about that? I have a bold plan to tax them a little bit of money, and just like that, all of a sudden, nobody has to worry about how expensive their rent is anymore. All of a sudden, nobody has to worry about how expensive childcare is anymore. All of a sudden, nobody has to worry about how expensive healthcare is anymore. Like, you know, the ground is kind of uniquely primed for that right now, I think. I had one in Magma Cavern already, right? No, that was Mount Blaze. I'm getting my fire-themed dungeons mixed up. Might be. And their only response is, we're gonna leave, which they also addressed on the podcast. It's like, what are you gonna do? Not live in New York? Nah, nobody buys that. Nobody buys like, oh, we're gonna take our business elsewhere. No, you're not. What, are you gonna stop doing business in New York City, the financial capital of the fucking world? No. Only a moron would leave New York City for that reason. Oh no, I'm being taxed marginally more, so I'm going to leave the cultural capital of the United States for like small town Montana with a murder rate of like like 20 per 100. I don't fucking know. Yeah. Like, nobody leaves the city that they're in. Like, unless your plan is like, oh, I'm gonna move to this place just because I want to, right? Like, I'm gonna move to here because, like, I don't know, I don't like the big city as much, or I don't like the small towns as much. I like the beach more. I like living inland in the mountains, whatever. You know, those kinds of preferences are the reasons people move. You usually don't see people, like, moving out of a city just like that because they're like, well, all of a sudden financial pressures have made me want to move the city. It's always like somebody is so strapped for cash that they have to move, which means working and middle class people, right? Like the lower socioeconomic classes are always the ones that get financially pressured out of a city or urban environment to go live elsewhere, right? It's never the wealthy. In fact, the wealthy's mission is to turn the city into a playground for them. That's why they're there. They come to the city for that purpose. They don't leave cities, you know? I mean, it's plainly economically visible to see, right? Cities are like, there's no wealth out in the fucking exurbs. There's no wealth in rural America. Not real wealth, anyways. Sure, people might be earning like $80,000 a year out there, which is more than what most people earn in Europe. Probably, you know, like the salary numbers in the United States are very skewed upwards, but like that is not reflected in the economic conditions of life out in the sticks in America, right? All that wealth, all of those like quantifiable measures of wealth beyond a number next to a dollar sign, that's in the city. Everybody wants to live in the city, whether they acknowledge it or not. The only difference is what size of city people want to live in. And we have a word for people who don't want to live in conditions like that. We call them hermits. You know, like what's the picture, right? Let's see, house on an island. Yeah. You either want to live in some kind of socially connected urban environment, however big or small, or you want to live here. Those are the only two things, right? Like, when billionaires are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna move out of the city, what they're saying is, I'm just gonna go take my ball and go home, in parentheses, way the fuck out here. Like, sure, bro. Sure. You know, it could be a city as big as New York. It could be a city as small as fucking, I don't know. What's a small town? Frederick, Maryland. It's a random place off the top of my head. You know, Frederick, Maryland is one of those towns that's like old enough to have a, in America at least, to have kind of a walkable core, right? Where like people can actually live. That's still an urban environment. You could want to live there. You could want to live in New York. You could want to live in anywhere with any size in between. But fundamentally, people want to live around other people. Otherwise, you're a hermit, you know? And that's what I mean by living in the city. Anyways, look, I've been rambling since you know, several minutes ago. You get the idea. Billionaires are fucking dumb. They're so dumb that they think they're slick. And then they say, yeah, well, you're going to tax me at 2%. So I'm going to spend vastly more than 2% on trying to prevent this wealth tax. And also at the same time, I'm going to say, yeah, well, I'm just going to leave New York then. Like, sure, bro. Yeah, literally, it's like we're asking for you to contribute money to society so we can make both your and everybody else's life better. This is going to benefit you too, because you use the fucking roads and bus system and subway and whatever the fuck else, the same as everybody else, right? If we invest in bus services, that means either you get to have a better ride on the bus, or the roads are more clear for you to walk or drive down. They literally just don't want society to be better because they like having a way bigger dragon's horde than everybody else. And they're shrinking their dragon's horde by more than... You know what? I'm done. The stupidity of these people truly knows no bounds. You know, I ought to charge them rent for how much I'm fucking getting fired up over this. Give me that. What do I have in my inventory? Okay, I have 4 gummies. I will need a reviver seed and a max elixir, I think. Reviver seed, yes. Where are the max elixirs? Do I have any? Oh, I don't have any, do I? No, I do. Okay, 15. That's good. I forgot to take a max elixir. Yes, give me one of those. And I will store... I think I'll store a pecha berry. Yeah, because I have a heal seed. That's like a panacea. Then I will see what all is on offer at the Kekleon shop. Huge apple, you say? Well, I do need a max elixir. The idea of treating money like blood is making more sense the more I think about it. Yeah, if you think of like an economic system and the body as a system, right? Money is the method by which we circulate resources. Blood is the method by which our body circulates resources and stuff. You know, the cardiovascular system, right? You don't want to have too little blood. That's pretty bad. But you can survive if you are, what is it? Anemic? Anemia is a condition. It makes your life worse and more uncomfortable. But you can survive anemia, right? Like when your blood is a little too thin, when there's not enough oxygen or whatever. And poor societies kind of mirror that when there's not enough money, but clearly there's still some function going on. You cannot survive blood clots if they persist long enough. You want a lot of blood to be flowing around. You don't want all that blood to be in one place. You know? Because that's how you get like a heart attack and die or something. I guess that's probably the easiest way to explain something like the velocity of money. You know, money being like blood. You want a lot of it. You don't want a lot of it in one place. You know, you want it to all be flowing very constantly so that everywhere gets the benefit of having that blood, having those, that like oxygen and iron circulating throughout your body, right? Such is the Keynesian view of it anyway. You know? And in fact, I think you could even, it might be a little bit like revisionist Marxism, but if you're a Marxist economist, I feel like you could work with that sort of analogy too, right? Because like, if money is designed in such a way to be constantly circulating, never staying in one set of hands for too long because it needs to be used for moving around resources, and allocating resources from one place to another, from people around and stuff like that, then effectively money becomes not infinitely fungible, not infinitely like storable and scalable or whatever. Like it becomes a lot more temporary, almost like the Marxian concept of labor vouchers, which is, you know, part of the a Marxist economic vision for like a what they would call lower phase communist economy, right? You transition from money to labor vouchers, and then from labor vouchers to completely non-monetary forms of exchange. You know, and I think actually, like, if you have money that circulates so much that it keeps the economy healthy and without too much wealth inequality, you might actually create labor vouchers in the Marxian sense by accident. Like, if you have money circulating around so frequently that everybody gets it when they need it, and it's never stagnating in one place for too long, you never have any of those blood clots of money that are, you know, accumulating in somebody's dragon hoard. That's basically labor vouchers, you know? Oh, actually, there are a couple of... Wow, that's a lot of magma cavern. All right, game wants me to go to magma cavern. Okay. Lapis, Blaze, Frosty, and Freeze. Okay, I don't have that, but yeah, none of those on work, so I will just turn on all 4 of these jobs. And oh god, this one's gonna be a fucking nightmare. Well, we'll give it a shot. Yeah, when blood doesn't circulate, you fucking die. So yeah, I feel like FDR and John Maynard Keynes style social democracy is kind of making a comeback. Maybe a little bit. I have some hope for that. Hopefully we can actually move past the social democracy part this time, because you know, you don't want any sort of potential systemic obstacle to money circulating very frequently and fluidly. You know, you don't want any dragon's hordes or anything like that. We'll visit Angles first, and then I want to visit like a water type. Very good. We did what those kids show. Say teamwork makes the dream work. Yeah, that's true. Literally, like, teamwork makes the dream work is like the governing principle that society needs to run on in order to be functional, because society is a cooperative thing. It's not a competitive thing, right? The only person you should be competing with is yourself. Otherwise, it creates like very toxic relationships very easily. Who do I want to visit? I need somebody who would be like, okay, Absol is the default like really good pick for this. Yeah, the whole reason that humans are like the basically like almost apex predators, almost, despite the fact that we have so many seeming physical disadvantages when compared to a lot of different like wild animals, is because humans are so much more social and so much more like dexterous and capable of using imagination socially to like, you know. His principle also helped killer whales. Yeah, a lot of animals' dominance can be explained by well, their physical size, of course, with some of them, but then also like their ability to form strong social units. You know, strength in numbers. I'm going to visit Absol. I think I'm going to have Absol come with me. Summary. Does he have an item? No. Doesn't seem so. Okay. I'm gonna go back to the team base, and then I'm gonna talk about the incomprehensibility of whatever the fuck the government is doing right now. Which is to say, actually, it's technically not supposed to be doing anything. Government's still shut down, by the way. When did this shutdown start? Beginning of October? Hold on, I kind of forgot about this. Government shut down. Yeah, beginning of the month. Government shutdowns updated 15 hours ago from Wikipedia. Government shutdowns in the United States. 2025. 2025 federal government shutdown. October 1st to present, 25 days. We are in week 4 of this shutdown. It has almost been 4 full weeks of the government shutting down, been shut down. Imagine it lasts long enough for Thanksgiving. I'm beginning to be able to imagine it. Jesus Christ. Employees furloughed, about 900,000. Second longest shutdown in American history. Impasse and deadlock. Somebody can correct me on this, but it actually doesn't seem like... It doesn't seem like they're particularly close to reopening the government right now. Like, it really... It really seems like it's going to persist until, like, November 1st, which is when people are really going to be hit hard by the, like, distinct lack of social services. Members of the military are already not getting paid, I think. Liberals would have already folded if they were the ones getting blamed. Yeah, what's funny is that, like, people are blaming Democrats and Republicans relatively equally for the shutdown from what I've seen, although that might be a very skewed poll. People are blaming, in large part, Republicans for this. I mean, think about it. Republicans control the executive. They control both branches of the legislative branch, both houses of the legislative branch, and they control the courts. There is literally no reason to put a government shutdown like this on the Democrats. And the Democrats are still taking anywhere from, I've seen, like, 1/4 to 1/2 of the blame, somewhere in that order of magnitude. Despite the fact that the Democrats have literally said nothing. Like, their messaging has been D- on this fucking front, because they are fundamentally compromised by the same set of interests that Republicans are. Even with them being that compromised and feckless and unwilling to, like, you know, do good political messaging, people still blame Republicans. I don't know. It's just a shit show over there. But now that I've established that, the government shouldn't be able to do anything technically right now. The White House just kind of went ahead with the ballroom construction project anyway, because the gimmick that they were touting with that is, oh, we're not using taxpayer dollars for this. Which means this is built entirely off of, like, barely legal quid pro quo dark money shit. You know? The kind of shit you learn in government class that is so bad that literally nobody can, like, put up the facade that, like, corporations and private interest groups being able to spend unlimited money is good. Like, nobody can earnestly give that take and not immediately be outed as a grifter. You know? So that's how the White House seems to have gotten around the power of the purse right now. Is just by being like, well, we'll just use billionaire money, because this ballroom is going to be a tacky fucking project for us to hobnob it up with the billionaires anyway. And of course, I can't believe it, like, took me even this long to mention it, because all that other shit is going on. But, like, this isn't even close to being legal to demolish part of the White House, a fucking historic government building. They've already destroyed it. They've already destroyed the part of the White House that they were going to build over. Never mind the fact that they lied and initially said, yeah, we're not going to destroy anything. This is purely an additive project. Even that would require an extensive legal process to get it approved. But the administration knows that the Supreme Court is so completely cucked to them that they can just destroy it and ask questions later. Like, seriously, I think they actually only filed for, like, some sort of approval process from the Supreme Court to be able to do this new construction project on the White House after they had already demolished the entire East Wing. Completely unhinged. The decline of an empire type shit. It's like, it's a vanity project, but somehow even stupider. You know? Like, if you think about the vanity projects for other, like, dictatorships around the world, other authoritarian regimes around the world, a lot of those vanity projects will at the very least look cool. Even if a lot of them are still very tacky, it'll be, like, pretty impressive, you know? Like, wow, they built something really big. They clearly got a lot of, like, the top talent in architecture and engineering or whatever to be able to do this, even if it's, like, only supposed to be used for, like, I don't know, purpose of glorification of the state or of the ruling family, whatever, you know, whatever the fuck it might be. But no, this doesn't even look, this just looks like ass. It's just a giant square with a bunch of gold decorations in it. Oh my god. I think I'm just gonna kind of blow past most of these floors. Because I can't really think of anything I would need that I'd be able to find in this dungeon. I mean, I'm finding some good items and stuff, but, like, I'd have to probably expend more resources than I would gain if I consciously tried to explore every inch of every floor. And, the resources I need right now are things that have to do with my move resources. 18 and 20. Okay. Yeah, I think, like, this is one thing I wanted to hit upon with my discussion of the ballroom, and how, like, the administration is so confident that they can just do this. Like, they'll just fucking, like, do something illegal and then worry about the court later, like, oh yeah, we should have the right to do this or something, and then the Supreme Court will just rule in their favor. Look at the absolute state of the Supreme Court right now. Supreme Court has given Trump favorable rulings in 90% of cases, report finds. In previous eras of politics, this would be a justification for the court to be cracked, packed, expanded, and all of the existing judges fired, and, like, new restrictions put on them. This would be like, okay, clearly this has been infiltrated by partisan forces. We need to burn the fucker to the ground and rebuild it from scratch. You should see legal professionals' reaction. They're getting doomer pilled. I wouldn't be surprised. The report stated that unlike the Supreme Court, lower courts are engaged in a bipartisan fight for the rule of law. Yeah, I've seen this. Okay, there's one sole exception to this, which is Eileen Cannon, who's a Trump loyalist judge who basically just does whatever Trump wants her to do. But, like, it's been genuinely surprising. Every judge from every administration, from, like, Reagan in the 80s to Bush to Clinton to Obama, and to even Trump's first term, even Trump's own appointees in all the lower courts are pretty ubiquitous in their opposition to basically everything that the administration either is doing or has aspirations to do, because they're all legal scholars. You know, even if many of them are conservative, they are legal scholars first, which prevents them from, you know, being more conservative than a certain amount, if that makes sense, right? Like, they don't, like, the lower courts have not been mincing words, but the Supreme Court is full of partisans apart from the 3 liberal justices who are just kind of there and can't really do much, it seems. Like, legitimately, I'm starting to want the liberal justices, out of respect for the legal profession. I feel like the liberal justices in the Supreme Court have an obligation to undermine the authority of the Supreme Court, since it's evident that this is, like, the Supreme Court has been compromised by a set of political interests that is openly hostile to the concept of like liberal legal institutionalism in this country. That's like, oh yeah, we need to have institutions that don't have absolute power but can provide reasonable barriers to each other, blah blah blah, right? Like, that's been so thoroughly thrown out the window that I feel like if your commitment is to that, is to the Constitution, you have a legal obligation to take a proverbial Molotov to the Supreme Court every time that they're asked to do anything. You know, like, whatever fucking channels you have, like, leak that shit to the press, leak info, like, to your clerks or whatever, like, obstruct all the fucking processes that could lead to the administration getting what it wants or whatever, because it's like, nobody is even putting up the veneer anymore that, like, the law really matters in instances, you know, where the Supreme Court is concerned, right? Everybody knows that the Supreme Court is just where the Trump administration goes to get their stamp of approval. I had debates with this. I have debates about this with liberals. But 2 years ago, I debated whether the Supreme Court was so inherently compromised that they cannot be, like, they cannot be an effective vehicle of the law and like, upholding democratic principles in this country. All doubt has since gone out the window. Again, the curse of being too correct too early, right? 2022 and 23, when the Supreme Court was issuing those rulings about, like, something like, no, it's not in cops' duty to, like, protect people from crime, and also, like, yes, the president is above the law or something. Like, when all those decisions were happening, I was like, okay, yeah, the Supreme Court is, like, a piece of shit institution that's worthless and, like, gives zero fucks about good things in this country, let alone, like, consistently applying and interpreting the law, right? Like, they're just unelected high priests or whatever. Sorry, this is not meant to be me tooting my own horn or whatever. This is meant to be, like, I don't know what this is meant to be. I was talking about the fucking, I was talking about, the White House, how they demolished the East Wing despite it, like, obviously not being legal. You know, but that, like, doesn't matter anymore. Thank you, Grout. We're very cool. Uh-oh, that could be bad. Looks like you're getting jumped. I am getting jumped. It's literally a mechanic in this game that you get jumped. It's called a monster house. Sometimes you literally just get jumped in this game. I'm gonna Razor Leaf you. I'm going for the fire types first because I feel like burn is an especially big threat here. Oh no. Oh, okay. Thank fuck I have that insomnia skill. Yo, literally cannot sleep. Imagine gang up on a miner. Average Republican. Ow. The hell wrong with you? Bro's just harming himself and others. I'm resetting the game. I'm not taking that. Did I use up my reviver seed or something? I swear I didn't. Then imagine losing that fight. I swear I had a reviver seed in my bag. Why does the game automatically lose when you die, but not when your teammates die? Because your teammates are not you. Like you're the main team leader, and also before the post game, you also fail the mission if any of your teammates die, or if your partner dies, or gets KO'd, I should say. Why the fuck did it not take that? Watch, the missions are gonna be different now. You guys saw me. I took a reviver seed out of storage. No, it's still Magma Cavern. Well, at least there's no escort mission this time. Okay, so these missions are the same. It's what gets put in the mailbox that's different. Oh, I don't have space. Oops. These are going back in. Yes. Okay. Give me a couple of gummies. Oops. Take a sky gummy. I'll take a brown gummy. Sure. I will take a reviver seed. Yes. I'll take a max elixir. And I will take a heal seed. Store that. Four food items, orangeberry, heal seed, reviver seed, max elixir, escape orb. Okay, that's good. Alright, give me some stuff. Huge apple, yes. Huge apple, yes. Huge apple. Yes. I will buy other stuff. Give me that max elixir. And that is all I am buying today. I want to store the stuff that I just bought, so these four. Yep. Anything else? Nope. I am good. Store my money. Okay. Bulletin board. What else? Great Canyon, Mount Thunder, Upper Forest. Okay, no, that's all the same. I have the jobs that all the jobs I can get. And then, yeah, okay, that job just straight up isn't there. Team is just me. There's no escort mission this time. So I can kind of afford to take somebody else. Take... No, okay. I will visit... That's Rattata. Okay, Longshore. Longshore, you are coming with me. What else? What else we got? Something about British cops? Oh yeah. Before I get to the bit about British cops, Graham Plattner is a name that probably not many people knew up until recently. But I imagine people probably know it a little bit better now, and probably not for a particularly good reason. He is one of the many progressive Democrats running against an incumbent in a primary election. There's been a wave of these people all over the country, some successful, some not, and I support all of them, regardless of whether they succeed in their primaries, because we need the establishment Democrats to feel the fucking heat for not doing anything. And for, like, you know, just blatantly kowtowing to the interests of, like, Silicon Valley, the military industrial complex, and consultants and all that shit, right? So Graham Plattner is a veteran, military veteran. He was a soldier, and his campaign has been a whole shit show, where he had some old cringe Reddit posts. Some of them were actually very base. Some of them were very cringe, and he actually, like, used that as an opportunity to make himself more personable, and explain, like, yeah, I used to believe those things. I don't anymore because I grew and changed as a person. Fucking low tier god meme. Grow and change as a person, because I'm not allowed to say the funnier version. But what also surfaced recently that he's having a harder time with, well, I would say that he's having a harder time with, but honestly, the outcome of this was also very funny, is that he had a Nazi tattoo. And I do mean a Nazi tattoo. Progressive Democrat, not a Nazi, but had a tattoo from when he was in the Marines and was on, like, shore leave or something in Croatia, in Split. And he was like, yeah, we were all really drunk and went to get tattoos, and we got this, like, oh, that's skull and crossbones, looks cool, let's get that. And it was the Totenkopf. Which, to, like, okay, in his defense at the time he got the tattoo, you're drunk and it's Croatia, and you walked into a tattoo parlor, they're probably gonna have some Nazi shit, right? Because, if you know, like, there was some political chicanery that occurred during World War II, beyond the Nazis just committing genocide against every Slavic group that they found, except for apparently the Croatians. When the Axis powers invaded Yugoslavia and annexed it, they created various client states to try to administer the territory, their like controlled territories in the Second World War. One of those was, I think they called it, like, the Free State of Croatia or something like that, right? And it was a Croatian client state, which encompassed, if I'm remembering right, it was like encompassed most of Croatia and Bosnia today. It was kind of like this weird, just like square shaped looking thing on the coast of the Adriatic, right? Like across from Italy. And so, like, Croatia has, like, a weird nostalgic streak for the Nazis. You could say that about a number of countries in Europe, but Croatia is one of them. He got a Nazi tattoo there. Graham Plattner did. And then he was like, oh shit, it was a Nazi tattoo. He had to have known before the campaign, but recently a video surfaced of him, like, singing at a bar shirtless or something, you know, average white man activities or something. And it showed the tattoo. And so he realized, like, oh, I should probably get this covered up with something else. I don't know how that didn't occur to him before then, but it did. So he got it covered up with, like, a Celtic knot with some dogs around it or something, which is also has affiliations with the far right. Far right loves their, like, epic trad and based Aryan Celtic Nordic paganism or something like that. But it, you know what? It's not a Nazi tattoo, so we take those, I guess. And amazingly, nobody has like stopped supporting him over this. I don't even know, like, I don't even know what's happening at this point with Plattner and his campaign. I should probably have saved before coming here, but whatever. Fuck it, we ball. Big voters like, yeah, we all make mistakes. It's amazing. He's actually Graham Plattner, after like this polls that even account for it being discovered that he had a Nazi tattoo. Every poll since has had him like in the lead with every demographic over his opponent in the Democratic primary. You know, the men, obviously he's up, he's a veteran. The women, he's more support with the women than his opponents. I guess people respect honesty. Yeah, I guess so. Now he did say some stuff there. It was pretty blatantly like, okay, I think he's being pretty dishonest there, where he was like, it has come to my attention that this was a Nazi tattoo. It's like, no, you probably do that shit. But like, I don't know. I feel like he's so genuine otherwise. And he's so folksy. It's like he's just the pure, like, undefeatable candidate demographically. He is a gruff military veteran, older white guy, you know, with the hard based epic tattoos and whatever, and with like a really spicy Reddit history. And he's a progressive who supports queer people, hates Trump, and like wants to see billionaires thrown into the volcano that Heihachi threw his son into several times, or grandson, excuse me. You know, it's like the perfect combination where it's like, oh, he has a Nazi tattoo. Discourse ensues. Polls showed the exact same amount of support. Great, thank you. I don't fucking know what's going on. The greatest part, too, is that the Republicans can't attack him over this because they're all Nazis. They can't attack him for having a Nazi tattoo because the Republican base is so dependent on far-right incels, neo-Nazis, and the like, that the Republicans will actually start hemorrhaging support and political power if they are openly anti-Nazi at this stage of things. Seriously, like, in the Republicans' defense of Israel, you never really hear about like how the Nazis committed such atrocities against the Jewish people in World War II, right? And if you do, they get a lot of pushback from their base. What they leave that part underwritten. They don't say that part. They just say, well, they are our greatest ally. They're the only democracy in the Middle East, and you know there must be a Jewish state or something like that. They purely appeal to the ethno-state with you know, the atrocities that Jews have suffered historically merely being left as sort of a background implication. Because if they say that up front, then their base is going to be like, but I do hate the Jews and want them to continue suffering atrocities, actually. So, you know, maybe this ain't it, Chief. Maybe you should have been more racist. Right-wing cancel culture strikes again. You know? Anyways, all that creates possibly the funniest political environment possible, where Graham Plattner is a progressive veteran who has a Nazi tattoo, but like the only people that would really seriously sabotage him for it are like establishment Democrats whose primary allegiance is to Israel and the military-industrial complex, because the progressives are too busy infighting like they always do. Some of them like authentically are very uncomfortable with the Nazi tattoo. I know I am, right? Like, but then like the right wing is too busy being like, no, but he supports queer people. No, but he's base. He has that tattoo or some shit. You know what I mean? It's like the opposite discourse is happening both on the right and left, which leads to him losing zero support overall. Literally the fucking, what is, here, hold on. It literally, what is going on right now is just this. I feel.
Time to listen up, you silly liberal fruitcakes.
To be white is to be a striver, a crusader.
We should call trans women she.
Now think about if women went back to the home.
This might actually be copyright. I don't know if I can play this. I'll play it anyway. Fuck it. Behold, the Graham Plattner campaign. And then he ascends. Many such cases. Anyways, welcome to American politics. Hope you enjoy your stay. Everybody is a fucking 4chan meme or something. Ow. Never let anybody tell you that politics is not some of the dumbest shit known to man. Because it is. It is extremely dumb. I'm just gonna start using sleep powder now. Nice. Dude, Rattata's HP is so fucking pitiful. Oh god, I'm gonna have a really hard time getting this guy up to a certain level. Oh, okay, well, there's the stairs. Easy enough, I guess. Oh, that ain't good. I'm gonna risk it still. Okay, that, like, doesn't matter because Rattata dies in one hit anyways, so probably fine. Ah, Mobile. Hello. Don't want to risk anything with you. 495 to next level? Okay. Thanks. Oh, who's ready for more anarchist anarchist propaganda? Proof that I am a real anarchist. Fuck the cops. We're gonna hit the fuck the cops quota today. I have this article from the BBC. Usually, it's just the American cops that you know get highlighted, well, by Americans for being so cooked because you know. Immediacy bias, right? Like American cops in America. But no, cops elsewhere also have this problem. It's been known to happen. Of being bastards and behaving as such. Here we go. BBC, 300 people tell BBC of police misogyny and racism. More than 300 people have contacted the BBC with allegations of racism, corruption, and bullying of victims by police after a Panorama undercover investigation. I don't know what Panorama is. I guess it's some sort of British org, but okay. a journalistic org or whatever. The secret filming over 7 months revealed evidence of racism, misogyny, and officers reveling in the use of force at one of London's busiest police stations. Damn, that's crazy. The institution whose sole purpose is the use of state force uses state force, and that's like all they can do, and so they kind of they just kind of lean into that. That's crazy. One of the main themes among the hundreds of people getting in touch was misogyny when they reported domestic abuse and sexual violence, with some women saying reporting their rape to police was like being raped again. By the way, this is why rape goes so unaddressed in a lot of places for so long. Who are you going to tell? The fucking authorities? This is how the authorities would behave towards you, right? In response to the latest allegations, the National Police Chiefs Council said it was working hard to build a culture based on integrity and trust and improving and vetting misconduct procedures. Nothing burger-ass statement. We've spoken to many of the women who contacted us through your voice, your BBC News, with stories of mistreatment, whose experiences span police forces across England from rural counties to big cities. We have changed their names to protect their identities. A police officer allegedly told Joanna to grow a pair when she reported being punched in the face by her partner several months ago, she told us. Her partner had been drinking excessively when he returned home and angrily attacked her, she says. She found herself at the local police station in tears. I was devastated, and the police made it 10 times worse. My face had a bruise from the punch, and one of the officers looked at me as if I was exaggerating the whole thing. With a black eye, mind you. Visible black eye. He told me to grow a pair, followed by a chuckle. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It took so much to go there in the first place, and then I wished I hadn't. Bro, this guy just looks like he's the type to fucking do some shit like that. I don't even know if this is the guy, but... No, I think this is a different guy. One woman was motivated to get in touch with the BBC by a scene panorama filmed of a Metropolitan Police officer being dismissive of a pregnant woman's allegations of rape and domestic violence. The officer said of her account to a colleague, that's what she says. Great. Ava was also pregnant when she fled her abusive partner, who she says repeatedly raped and hit her. She said the treatment and attitude of the officer she met that night meant she would never return to the police in the future. This, I feel like, is also, like, again, very damning. It's like, I bet these people beat their significant others. They do. That's another reason that domestic violence goes underreported, is that the police don't help. And the reason the police don't help is because most of them are also domestic abusers. According to the statistics that we have available, this is just what we've been able to gather, what people have been willing to cop to. 40% of police in America are domestic abusers. Let me even try to find that statistic right now. This is from Oregon, National Center for Women and Counseling. Zoom in, enhance. Two studies have found that at least 40% of police officer families experience domestic violence, in contrast to 10% of the families in the general population. Which this is going to mean that the cops are the ones doing the abuse, right? Like I've said on other occasions, there's a pre-selection for and bias towards certain kinds of people in the police force. Your job is to use the force of the state, which then personifies you as the state, which is a literal patriarchal authority. Even for women that you know, they succumb to this kind of mindset. There is a profound storm of psychological influences that either are already present that make people want to sign up for the job, or that get instilled into you through police training. Whenever you see police officer families experience domestic violence, 99% of the time, almost guaranteed, it's going to be the police officer abusing their partner. Unless it's two police in a relationship, in which case the police will both be the abuser and abused. Third study of older and more experienced officers found a rate of 24%, indicating that domestic violence is 2 to 4 times more common among police families and American families in general. That tracks 2 to 4 times. So, yeah, just to highlight that. Oop, I think but I recently closed. There we go. Give me this. There we go. Come on, give me. Okay. But yeah, back to this. So yes, there is a preponderance of evidence that cops are very, very much more inclined to be domestic abusers than the general population, which means they are literally the last place. You would have better luck going to a perfect stranger to help you with a situation of domestic abuse than going to the cops, who are supposed to be the trusted authority. You know? If you're ever in this situation, legitimately, this is interpersonal advice. If you are ever in a situation of domestic abuse, go to a friend first, somebody you trust. Do not fucking call the cops. They will usually make it worse. Or at least they have a much larger chance to make it worse than if you talk to a friend about it. You know? She said she was devastated that they did not believe her. This was this woman, Ava. Yeah. Again, names changed. Telling her that nobody gets raped more than once. Fucking stunning display of the kind of person that you are likely to find in the police force. Not sound biased, but he does look like the person that would beat their wife. Yeah, I noted as such. Cops have the fucking abuser phrenology or some shit. It was like I was being raped all over again, she said. What they put me through was worse than what I was going through before. Ava says evidence that would have supported her case was willfully ignored, and she was told that without CCTV evidence of an attack, it's just your word against his. Yeah, you really want to prove it? Put a fucking surveillance state apparatus in your home so that we can watch the video of you being attacked. Otherwise, yeah, fuck off. Actually worse than doing nothing at all. These people are disgusting. She believes being a black woman made matters worse. It probably did. The color of my skin meant everything was stacked against me. The language they used and how dismissive and mocking they were was both misogynist and racist, she said. People wonder why. Yeah, people wonder why, like, women don't report domestic abuse or rape or whatever. This is why. The motherfuckers that you report it to are, like, just as likely to say, no, you're lying. Also, nobody gets raped more than once. Also, you probably deserved it or something. They asked why I thought he was doing it to me, as if I was the problem, as if I'd brought it all on myself. This is massive red flag. If anybody ever confides, like recounts a story of, like, a sexual assault and somebody asks, like, why, like, incredulously asking why they would do that to you, it, like, bro, feels like real life. Yeah, again, like, anarchist propaganda. Fucking try not to be radicalized against the state and state power and the fucking cops. Difficulty impossible. Oh yeah, police contribute to a fucking domestic abuse and rape crisis because most of them are also domestic abusers and rapists. Notably, the police and potentially the military are the only state institutions that suffer from this problem. I wonder why the fuck that is. I don't know as much of the statistics on the military. To my knowledge, militaries, at least in first world, countries, tend to be actually more disciplined than the police in their behavior. There's still massive problems of racism, misogyny, sexual violence, and domestic abuse in the military. but it's less bad than in the police. Regardless, those are the two major institutional representations of that problem. You know? I wonder the fuck why. I wonder why these two borderline unaccountable institutions whose entire job it is to use state force, sometimes lethal state force, to keep a population scared and in line is full of domestic abusers. And like people with pro-rape ideology. Like, I wonder what could the fucking connection be. Policing Minister Sarah Jones told the BBC that the government would not tolerate these sickening comments and urged people to report them. This is, like, unironically, this is it's still wishy-washy, but like a way fucking better statement than, what was it, National Police Chiefs Council. She said police chiefs have been given new powers to dismiss officers who commit gross misconduct. We will root out those unfit to serve the public. Oh, great. Give the police chiefs new powers to, like, dismiss... Right? I'm sure this will not be used in any way to, like, make the police departments even worse. The worst possible fucking... I mean, look. These people should be fired. But, like, just giving the police chiefs this power is not the fucking PR move they think it is. They're like, bro, you gotta at least try to lie better. Yeah. Another woman, Claire, told us how she escaped from her abusive former partner who had coercively controlled her for 12 years, only to find that police did not want to get involved when he breached court orders to stay away from her. Literally breached a court order. She was like, yeah, I'm getting a restraining order for your ass. And then he breached the restraining order. She was like, hey, this guy, not even like, the complaint wasn't even, I have been raped. Or some shit like that. The complaint was, yeah, I have this restraining order against this guy who I was in an abusive relationship, and he's been breaching the restraining order. The police are like, okay, we're not going to do anything. Like, fucking hell. Anybody who tells you that the police uphold the law and protect the citizenry and whatever according to the law is full of shit. That is not the job of the police. That has never been the job of the police. Not insofar as the text of the law and the spirit of what, legal scholars and activists would consider to be the purpose of the law anyways. Their job is to, quote unquote, administer the law insofar as they are the state and they will tell you what to do. And if you don't do what they say, they will hit you with a stick. That is the law to the police, and that is the kind of law that you get with a police department. That is not the kind of law that you would see written in case filings, that you would hear people advocating for in the streets, that legal scholars would speak in terms of rights and protections. Police do not deal in the law like that. That is not the business in which they truck and barter. On one occasion, her former partner entered her home and locked her out despite an injunction banning him from the property, and the police still did fuck all. She said it took, oh my god, and it's even worse. She said it took the police more than 7 hours to arrive, and then they just stood laughing and chatting with him. She and her 3 children ended up having to stay with a friend for months. The police literally, like, enabled this guy to... They were, like, chopping it up, being like, haha, isn't that so funny that you fucking did breaking and entering. Breaking and entering is a crime, by the way. Doesn't matter what fucking country you're in. Yeah, we don't protect victims. We don't even arrest criminals. We just chop it up with them, especially if they're domestic abusers. I felt even more afraid and more isolated after speaking to the police. It's a boys' club, a network across police stations, police forces, and county lines, Claire said. I would never call the police, and I still worry he'll find me and show up. See this, again, I swear I didn't pre-read this. This is why you talk to a friend. She and her 3 children ended up having to stay with a friend for months, and the friend took them in. The friend has been infinitely more help than the police have been in any one of these. Across like 3 or 4 different stories, we've seen like 5 or 6 different instances of the police doing nothing or making the situation worse. And the one time they mentioned a friend, like a random person that they knew, they were a massive help. Staying with a friend for months, that can be a pretty big ask. But they were willing to do it. At the end of the day, I don't know what the situation was like, but it was like That certainly seems to have been better than like being stalked by your abusive ex and the police laughing about it. Training program called Domestic Abuse Matters was developed by the College of Policing in 2016. It's used by 37 out of 44 police forces in England and Wales to improve the way they deal with victims of sexual and domestic violence. And part of the NPCC and College of Policing strategy on violence against women and girls says that one of its priorities is to challenge sexism and misogyny among police officers. This is literally just a part of that. You try to lie better about it. You know, they're not actually going to do shit about it. This is literally a fundamental flaw of a police department, a police force as a concept. You know? Deputy Assistant Commissioner Helen Millichap, NPCC lead for violence against women and girls, told the BBC police chiefs were working with police chiefs were working with survivors of domestic abuse and sexual offenses to continue to reform training, with a key focus on first responders' understandings of the dynamics of abuse and their empathy with victims. She said officers must feel confident in calling out misogyny and sexism within policing, but that improved vetting and misconduct procedures were having an impact in identifying, dismissing those who should not be in policing. Look, this is even more like substantive. A lot of this is still like, yeah, that's just a suggestion, but like this kind of training and like even like the mildest institutional change is like an improvement over whatever the fuck else the cops have been saying about themselves. And men wonder why they picked the bear. Yeah, like it's not bear or something. One of the women who contacted the BBC said that having watched the Panorama program, she was shocked that nothing had changed in the decade since she was raped as a teenager. Jesus Christ. At least the cops would help with the bear. True. Yeah. You're more likely to get a cop's help if you're faced with a bear than if you're faced with a fucking domestic abuser. You know? And at least from a bear attack, you die. With a domestic abuser, you have to be haunted by that shit the rest of your life, and the cops aren't going to help you. They'll just make it worse. Never had a night without a nightmare as a result. I've buried a lot of what the police officers asked me. They spoke down to me like I was part of the problem, the woman, now in her 40s, said. Watching Panorama, I realized I must be one of thousands. I'm not the only one. They made me feel I was. Yeah, this, again, like this kind of attitude, the blatant misogyny and dismissal of women as like a category, of rape victims as a category, victims of like sexual assault and domestic abuse, is like a contributing part of like a major contributing part of why this shit goes so underreported. Like, why would you tell the cops? They're just gonna fucking like do worse than nothing. You know? Oh, how do you miss? Oh my god. Okay, whatever. Get that shit out of here. Okay, clearly I need to deal with you first. Then you. Get out of here. Thank you, Rattata. Although I probably need to take care of this Magmar so none of us get burnt. Jesus Christ, can you hit your attack, please? I hate how long that takes. But yeah, ACAB moment. Nobody fucking forget. Cops fucking pieces of shit. And that's what you get when you have a completely unaccountable, unelected institution of people who, well, maybe not completely unelected. I think there are like commissioners and chiefs and whatever that are elected positions in the UK and in America. But yeah, that's what you get when you have an like almost completely unaccountable institution whose sole job is to be the arbiters of what is legitimate or not in the eyes of the state, and be the arbiters of where it is or isn't justified to use the force of the state to, like, I don't know, do anything, right? Their job is literally to harm, to do harm. So obviously they're going to do that shit for domestic abuse victims. That's just as a systemic, you know, like a purely, completely impersonal, systemic by the numbers matter. Like incorporating mass psychology and a more individualized psychology into the matter. Think of the kind of person that unaccounted power would attract. Of course they're gonna be fucking domestic abuse apologists and pieces of shit. Right? Of course all cops are bastards. There's literally zero consequence for when they do any of this shit. Anyways, thank you for coming to my anarchist TED Talk. If that's a segment, cut it there. Between you and me, though, I'm not going to have, like, a whole lot of time to edit stuff because I'm still... You can see there's still, like... I mean, that's a shitty little drawer there is about... Like, there's still a lot of boxes in my apartment that are unopened, so... Pace of content might be slow. Or maybe not, honestly. I don't know. I don't know how the pace of content is going to look. There's a lot of uncertainty. You know. But, you know, I'm trying to focus on moving in bit by bit. Or unpacking, I guess, would be a more accurate way of putting it. Okay, only 13, 14, and 18. No 23rd floor mission. Okay. Probably after this dungeon, I'll be done with the stream. I've talked about basically everything I wanted to. Please don't jump me again. Brother. Do it again. Got him. Hooray, destination floor, 13th floor. Ooh, that could be dangerous. Yay, level 14, only 21 HP. Oh, man. Mudkip, you handle that. Thank you. Holy shit, that's a lot of damage. Funny when normal people try to tell minorities that life is completely normal. Yeah, like, perfectly normal. Yeah, it, like... There's certainly a gap in... I mean, there's obviously a gap in the life experience of somebody who's not a political minority and somebody who is. You know? But, like, the difference is just that police play nicer with people who aren't minorities, right? It's not so much that, like, minorities are the aberration in how police treat people. It's more so that the political majority is an aberration in how police treat people, if that makes sense, right? Because the political majority is very seldom a mathematical majority of the population, right? For the purposes of treatment at the hands of the police, right? How the police would treat you. You would have to be straight, white, and male. All three of those. And not be an abuse victim. Which, you know, there are men who are abuse victims as well. You know? So already you're looking at a much smaller slice than 50% of the population, right? Who could theoretically interact with the police, right? If you, like, you could have, like, the white supremacy shield, I'm white, right? You know, you activate your shield, but that doesn't mean jack shit if you're queer. That doesn't mean jack shit if you're the victim of sexual abuse, right? You know, God knows the cops don't fucking treat women very well, even if they're white. Thank you, Mudkip. Very cool. Did I completely miss? I think I completely missed Rattata on the 13th floor. That's one thing I really appreciate about the later games is it'll tell you when, like, if you're about to miss something. Like, if you haven't completed the objective on a given floor, it'll be like, uh-oh, you haven't completed the mission yet. Do you want to go on still? And you'd be like, oh shit, wait, you're right, go back. Whatever. This Rattata particularly is doing fine, so that's what matters to me. There's very good. Eighteenth floor. All right, cool. Cool. You, I'm going to exclusively use regular attacks on. And then you, I will use Fine Whip. Then I will use a Max Launcher. On where's the... Okay, there's Wheel. Ow. Do I have... Okay, I do have some of these things. I'm gonna throw this. Get out of here. Well, you get out of here too. Now I will get out of here. Yes, I will leave. Sorry, random Rattata that I probably forgot about. Yeah, I completely missed it. Well. I'll just remove that job from the list. Probably. No, I didn't mean to do that. I keep just spamming A and it, like, defaults to not saving the game. Okay, save the game. Save completed. Save state. And I will find somebody to raid. Thank you for tuning in to stream this time. It's good to be back. Hopefully there's more in store. I will say, fair warning, I am going to try to do some, like, work on the stream to incentivize people to donate and subscribe and stuff. Because I want to make this the thing that I'm doing. You know, I would love for streaming to be my job. That would be incredible, and I want to take that more seriously. I've been juggling a lot of things, but yeah. Twitch research mechanics. Yeah, basically. you know, gonna have the little message, please subscribe or whatever. Anyways, who's live right now? Ooh, Brian_F is live and playing Street Fighter 6. That's pretty cool. Son is live, Brian F is live. You know what? If I go to follow channels, you're following. Following channels. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna raid Brian F. Nope, sorry, you might have heard that. Just confirm. Yep. Enjoy some Street Fighter 6 combo trials, grind to master, whatever else. I'll be back next time. Bye. Ooh.